I'ma get $1 million in the bank.
What up, y'all? It's Torre, and this is Rap Latte.
What is up? What is up? What is up? I'm back in the crib. You can see that. So it is King Green, and we're here to have deeper conversations about hip hop with my guy, the lyricist, the technical rapper himself, the artist, the educator,
The
Mr.
teacher.
Mickey Facts, everybody. Yes.
Mr. Mickey, welcome to the show. I saw somebody on TikTok talking about a tweet storm that you just had the other day. I believe it was March 4th, if people want to look back. And you were dropping a lot of gems about MCing because you teach people how to MC. So I want you to talk a little bit about what you teach people and the big ideas that you teach MCs. But you had some of the tweets you had were really brilliant and really helped me articulate something that I felt was on top of my tongue, because you are not telling people, go out and be as complex as possible. You're telling people, connect with the audience. Complexity is overrated. Green, can we throw up some of the tweets? You said,
All right.
being overtly lyrical is to impress other rappers and lyricists. There are fans who do enjoy that. I'm going to come back to that one in a second, Green. There are fans who do enjoy that, but it's really for validation from peers who've done it previously. Emotion should trump intellect, depending on what the song calls for. And you keep making that point. The tweet you just put up, that Green just put up, being witty, palatable, and memorable is more important than being complicated, right? You said song structure is about hypnosis. How can you get someone to remember the words quickly? We're going to go through a couple more tweets, but let's just talk about this idea that you're impressing upon people, which I love, that it's about being memorable and connecting more than being witty and lyrical.
Yeah, I mean, I think, this conversation has just been happening a lot more lately, obviously because of the Drake and Kendrick situation. And, I think that for the masses, when it comes to song writing and song creating, there's three things that I like to teach my students, and that's discernment, relaxation, and repetition / hypnosis. When we think about when we first hear a song, the songwriter has to have discernment in what they're putting into what they're writing. So when you think about the greats of our time, Andre 3000, DMX, Tupac, Biggie, they've always had discernment with what they're writing. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of moment for emotion to take place, and it is relatable from that standpoint. And then also, being relaxed when writing your music. That is, I feel like hip hop is based off of the African drum. So everything it's in our DNA to basically kind of go with the
Come up with
vibe.
these rhythms.
Yeah, with these rhythms. I think that's what it's about. And then the radio, and even, I mean, now there's streaming playlists and things of that nature. But even if you want to get on the very popular playlists, there has to be some level of hypnosis and repetition. That's how they are able to get you to remember a song once or twice after hearing it. And in order to do that, you have to simplify what it is that you're doing. There are some great MCs out there who have taken, I was having a conversation with Method Man about this, right? He was like, I was saying words that you wouldn't normally say. He was like, so I would say something like, instead of saying lyrical, I would say lyrical, right? So being able to take a bigger word and making that word palatable for everyone is very important. That's what a true songwriter and a true lyricist will be able to do.
And talk about that other piece of it, about you're getting there, but don't try to be as complex as possible. Try to hit them in the heart.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was a victim of being complex for a very long time. From about 2014 to about 2020, I spent these years looking for validation, and I realized and recognized that there were other MCs doing the exact same thing. There was this competition and competitiveness to be the best, and in order to be the best, you had to showcase this not
Because you're the
through
best.
record sales, but by competition, and showing that I'm better than you by how complex or how deep or how layered my songs are, as opposed to connecting with the audience who are more focused on feeling what you're saying, and and connecting through collaboration through our hearts and minds. I don't know Martin Lawrence, but when I watched the Martin show, he was doing things set in a stage of Detroit that was relative to me in the Bronx in New York.
Hmm.
Telling
Yeah.
stories and
Being human.
connecting, being human, is important for us to, convey through our song messaging. I think that's very important.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that happens with this conversation, and we titled this overly lyrical. Oh, my whole camera stopped. We titled this overly lyrical. It's like explain the difference between overly lyrical, or lyrical and technical. Being like a lyricist and being a technician.
So a lyricist, to me, well, let's start with technical, right? So a MC that's technical is somebody that's going to match their syllables every time they try to rhyme. So like there's like a 5 syllable multi, which is like a word that has 5 syllables, or a bunch of words that have 5 syllables, and you're trying to match those words every time you rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I say something like what Casanova, I'm a Casanova guy, right? I would try to rhyme Casanova guy 3 more times within a 4 bar sequence, right? So if you go
Mm-hmm.
da 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 da, yeah, Mickey Fax Casanova guy, da na 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 na, battle on the time, da na 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 na, you see my shadow don't shine, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
so that's technical. The person is trying to do that, and then they'll go even further by rhyming internally, doing some shadow box stuff, and taking
Mm-hmm.
rhyme from the end of your rhyme, and then they might throw metaphor in there, and they might throw simile and entendre, and then you can even go even crazier if you want. But a lot of that stuff is they're focusing on their peers when they write this type of stuff, or people at that high level that appreciate that type of
Type of
lyricism, what
yeah.
they feel, which is derivative of the 90s, right? People love the 90s because it was this quote unquote higher level of consciousness through lyricism, right? And then being a lyricist, right? To me, I think people are conflating the two of being technical and being a lyricist. A lyricist is using all literary devices to allow emotion to be conveyed through song. So when people say that Tupac was a lyricist and others say that he wasn't a lyricist, they're saying he wasn't as technically
Technical. Yeah.
as a Big Pun or a Black
Big
Thought
L. A Black Dot.
or
Yep.
Big L, right? But he was a lyricist with how he was able to convey his storytelling ability. He made Brenda's Got a Baby. He made Keep Your Head Up. He made Dear Mama. You know what I'm saying? These are
And the
lyrics.
concept of
He had a passion in his delivery that was uncommon, and that really carries him quite far, does it not?
Yes, mainly because of the tone of his voice and how the tonality of what he was saying. He made you feel it. Like,
Yes.
even though you was a crack fiend, mama, you always was a black queen. Like you can hear
yep.
like there was a level of honesty in that type of lyricism, right? That a lot of people, and even with that's a 4 syllable multi: crack fiend mama, black queen mama. Like, but people
Yep.
don't want to focus on that. They want to focus on him saying, I ride on my enemies with a bottle of Hennessy. Like that's
Hennessy.
right.
He's done that. He did that like 18 times though. Like he rhymed Hennessy and enemies 18 times. But I said the same thing in another episode. Yeah. We said this in another episode that like coming up with concrete, a rose growing up from concrete, coming up with I wonder if heaven's got a ghetto. That there shows how much lyricism in rhetorical devices and in conceptual and imagery he has within his lyricism right there. And everything is not always simile and metaphor, because that's what you know of, and that's what's been used to get a rise out of you, because rappers understand it's like, let me hit you with something that's anecdotal, a metaphor, or a simile that you could comprehend very quickly. Whereas other rhetorical devices, metonymy, anaphora, using motifs, all these things, and things that Kendrick uses a lot, actually more than similes and metaphors, are things that take time later, or you may have to understand what's happening in going there. So it's like sometimes people don't see that the other forms of writing that sometimes is a little bit more dense or even harder to do when it comes down to paring it down and being simplified. You could agree that making a pop song is harder than making a technical rap song. That's my perspective. Like a really good pop song that's not corny. Like I'm talking about like to make a Michael Jackson's.
Because connecting with another human or a million other human beings is harder than doing
not only music. That.
That's what you're saying.
Not only that, you want to connect. First of all, music is feeling. Right? Let's break it down. When he said bringing it back to Africa, it's about feeling. It's emotion. That's it. There's nothing else to talk about it. When you see a movie, they play a certain type of music to make you feel a way during a scene. Music is feeling. So if you're not feeling anything from it, you are losing something in that translation, right? Now, it's not about connecting. What was it? What did you say? You said it's not about being able to connect with all these people only. It's also to be a high level like pop song, something like of a Michael Jackson, like the beat or something like that. The lyrics are good too. It's technically great. The music is technically great as well as being simple enough for everybody to get. There's so many layers in Billie Jean. Billie Jean's one of the greatest things ever created because there's so many layers musically, so many layers conceptually, thematically. The story is something that you never got really in a pop song before it. Like Billie Jean ain't my, like that's crazy. That song is actually crazy and it's hard to do.
Wait, Mickey, could you talk a little bit about how you teach folks or how you advise folks? How do you connect? How do you create that song that, because you're definitely opening my eyes to how I really feel as far as, you know, I will have great respect for something that, let's say, Black Thought does, but only listen to it a couple times and then listen to a song like Hey Ma 100 times. And I'm like, especially that Joel's verse, it's so cute. It's so, and it connects, and I can see it. He connected with me, and I want to keep hearing the story he tells and the audacity of all. So he's connecting. So how do you do it? Well, what do you tell people how to do it? And who are the people? I don't want to ask you your top 5 because you seem to be beyond that conversation. But who are the people who have done this connecting with people in hip hop the best?
So, to answer your first question, I teach my students that repetition is the best way to capture someone's ear. Along with repetition, spatial rhyming. I feel like Nipsey Hussle and Rick Ross were the best at spatial rhyming, are the best because.
What does that mean?
So spatial rhyming is leaving space in the beat, allowing for a listener to not only hear you in a bar. So if a bar has 4 counts, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can also do a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That allows for 8 syllables to be in that bar. So if you subtract those 8 syllables and now you have 6, you have 6 syllables in this bar, you have a count that is just space for the beat. So something like on Stay Scheming, right? When it's like, damn, life's so short. Fuck, I don't want to go to court, right? Like That's the first two lines on this song. That's spatial rhyming. You're gonna get that the third time you hear the song, right? That's resonating with so many people because prior to popular belief and prior to what the internet likes to think, the entire world is not intelligent, right? There are more people that have a sixth grade education than there are people with a college grade education. So it's interesting, and this is not a knock to bro Joel Santana, but it's easy for you to remember a Joel Santana verse from Hey Ma because the reading level of that verse is very remedial.
Any fifth grader could immediately understand that song.
Yes. Whereas someone as Big Bro Black Thought, he is well versed in so many different things that when you intake something like that, you need to listen to it 2 or 3 times, not to memorize it, but to catch everything and to be like, whoa, did he just talk about fashion from Europe? And then he's talking about Haile Selassie over here, but then he went over and talked about Frida Kahlo, but now he's talking about Philly cheesesteaks. That is the dichotomy of a mind of Black thought.
Go on.
As opposed to a Joel Santana who's telling the girl, don't touch nothing, sit in the car. Just get in the car. Like, it's a completely different thing, you know?
So who's done it best? Who's doing it the best in the world?
I think who conveyed these emotions the best are the people that people feel are in the top of, you know, hip hop's space. Biggie, Tupac, DMX, Nas at times.
Definitely X.
Yeah, definitely DMX. As of late, yeah, definitely Jay-Z. As of late, definitely Kendrick. And you know, I would say Drake. I think Drake.
Of course, Drake. Who cares about how? No,
let's talk about it. Do you think that he is a good rapper?
I think Drake is a great rapper.
Define that.
I think that he is. No, I think Drake is a great rapper. I think that from a technical standpoint, he's very good, and I think that he conveys his emotions very well. It just doesn't resonate with the urban side of hip hop, and he got caught. Like, he got caught having help, so that kind of takes him down a bit. Before he got caught, people were contemplating if he was the greatest ever.
Yeah,
I know that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. In a world where Jay, Nas, Kendrick, 3K actually exist, that's ridiculous.
You can't make a real argument. You just hate Drake. It's okay. You can't make.
You can't make a real argument for him being the greatest. But I want Mickey to. Mickey can say he thinks he's great and explain that. Great test. I'm like, that's ridiculous. But let's just focus not on the comparison, but just on this individual. Okay, I mean,
so what Torre is saying is correct. But what I'm saying is the conversation was beginning to happen before Meek let out what he let out. From 2009 to 2015, there was a real conversation beginning to happen about how was he able to continue to be at this high level and continue to do what he was doing, even though he was emotional and he was singing when he was rapping, even when he raps today. People, up until the Kendrick battle, every time Drake dropped a record where he was rapping, people rapped over that beat. All MCs rapped over the Drake beat. That happened for the past 10 to 15 years. That's just
Drake was the spearhead. The reason I like how people be forgetting certain things, even when the beef happened, Drake was on tour. Drake was on top of the world still with mediocre versions of his own music. He was still on top of the world. He was the number one guy, respected on the hip hop circles, we would all say that. Me and Mickey Fax would be like, yeah, he's good at rapping and he has hits. Like, what are we talking about? Now, we would say, me personally, I don't remember what Mickey's opinion on this, and he could chime in. I would say that since you had a writer, you can't ever be in the greatest rapper category because you had someone write for you. But
let me do one thing. Because I don't care what other people think. I care what Mickey and Green think. So fuck what the world, like, if you think he's one of the greatest, then let's talk about that. But I don't give a fuck about the rest of these crumbs having ridiculous about this nigga being the great. I
think the culture matters. I think the culture matters even when we talk about things. But I'll say, we don't have to stick on this because we talking about rapping and overly lyrical rappers, but Drake is a person that does the internal rhymes with the extra syllables, with that flow he did all the time. All of his timestamp records, he'll do that flow. Now, who cares? We don't need to talk about. We got into this again with the Drake thing, but he's a good rapper too technically, but he also can do that emotional shit, which the emotional shit, when I say emotional shit, I'm talking about actually tap into people's emotions, like a DMX, like a Jay-Z, and like a Tupac. We can move on from that.
I mean, I don't have him as one of the greatest, post Meek Mill exposing him with Quentin Miller. But I do recognize that he has a lot of talent when it comes to writing raps like that you can't deny that.
I appreciate this tweet. Let's go back to the tweet thread. You said, with all that's going on, I will say subject matter also matters. There should be more topics that resonate with the human experience as opposed to I'm the best, I'm Escobar, I'm Iceberg Slim, I'm Warren Buffett. What about financial trouble? What about stress? What about adversity? And I think that 100% makes a ton of sense. I think about 95% of rap songs boil down to I'm the shit. That is the thesis of most rap songs. And there are other things that we can talk about that would be very relatable to the audience. And you wonder why more MCs don't broaden out what they want to talk about.
Success.
Success. And I think it's difficult for them to do. I saw a tweet, I want to say during the pandemic or post-pandemic, that was unbelievable. Conscious rappers make protest songs to not be played at the protest. Conscious rappers make protest songs to not be played at the protest. When Kendrick made We Gonna Be All Right, that wasn't meant to be a protest song, but it became a protest song. Are you following? So people are making protest songs like there are conscious rappers that are making songs like, we gotta fight the system, we gotta take back women's body.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And that is not the music that is played at these protests, because there's no emotion, there's no feeling, there's no hashtag, there's no phrase that we as a collective can say, because they're not following the basic structures of how to create a song.
Do you mean current conscious rappers? Because "Fight the Powers" is a protest song that made a protest.
But look at "Fight the Power." That's a "Fight the Power." The chorus is just "Fight the Power."
Yeah,
so like, amazing. You felt that at that time. And
if the song is a bop and it's very memorable, as opposed to a lot of other protest songs,
people are purposely aside from Public Enemy, people are purposely creating protest songs that are not being played at the
I get it.
You could make a great song about so many things, and Green's talking about success, maybe a want to create a specific image. Maybe is there a group think?
I think there's a group think within the culture. I mean, when one person gets successful, and we can't deny that the record labels don't have something to do with this. We could just flat out hip hop right now, do the history timeline. First, it's these party raps, and people are doing these party things, and you're just learning how to say things and get people going, right? From that, you get to, like, let's say Slick Rick times and these things. From that, you're getting to the
One second, Professor. The message is the third rap song, so we moved past party rap, right? Like almost right away.
Well, I'm just saying that happened, but the message didn't get replicated. It did not get replicated. The message did not get replicated in the way that any party hip hop song got replicated. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't get replicated. You
mean that we didn't make that many more versions of that until what? Like,
I think that's what replicate means. But yeah, at that time you have hot songs. You gotta have bops, right? At all times you need bops. It's what Mickey's saying. It's like the message was a bop. The beat's crazy. And now he's giving me a message. So now I'm getting two things in one. Other people, and then the record labels are playing this. They're like, oh, so now this Run DMC or this Slick Rick thing is happening. Dougie Fresh, all these songs are popping, and they're just party bops, and these things are selling. Now, if you're not making something that's now you see these people selling, you trying to eat, right? I'm gonna make the thing that sells. So I might be in the park talking some real shit. I'm on some 5% shit in the park. But when I just got signed to a record deal, I need to have a bop. That's what they asking you for. So I think that has something to do with it, as well as culturally. It's since we know that that's an outlet, you start doing that. If everyone's shooting threes, the fuck am I driving to the hole for? You get 3 points for shooting this. I'm going to practice and shoot this three. So I think that's part of it.
And there's always a tweak, right? So what Green is saying is true, because there's a tweak that happens all the time within music. So that tweak was Rakim. So there was still a bop. He was a 5%er, but there was still a bop there. And then Kane, and then you got NWA, and then you got Tribe Called Quest. It went from this funk to jazz to, and it just kept going, and then it kept evolving. But when it evolved, it also at some point devolved, because of what was happening. There wasn't a lot of that consciousness there.
Capitalism, man.
I definitely think that Rakim is a critical point in the history, in that he shows us a deeper level of complexity, and other MCs respond of like, oh, like we got to be deeper like Rakim. And then I think perhaps with Jay-Z, perhaps there's another leap forward in terms of what people understand is possible. For sure, Tupac is a huge leap forward as far as what people understand is possible. Who are the people you think of, the MCs you think of in the post, let's say everybody after Rakim, who are like, ripping open a new timeline, and people and everybody else is like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do it that way. Like, and like we said, like Jay-Z, Tupac, like who else has like changed a lot of MCs' mind and influenced a lot of people?
I would say
lyrical standpoint?
50 Cent.
Yes. How?
I think at the time, Ja Rule was on top.
Yep.
With the singing, it was sing rap, and then 50 came in and kind of shifted the dynamic on, aggressive hip hop coming back into the fold. Because there was that's how DMX was able to come up, because there was Mace. We had Mace and we had the shiny suit era. So then it was like, okay, let's turn the dial back up, right? And then, Kanye. I think early Kanye was very important, because it was 2 Street, and then here's this guy that comes along and he shifts that dynamic back to kind of this Tribe Called Quest kind of space.
I'm a regular black man.
Right, and then it shifts back to Lil Wayne, right? Like Lil Wayne is here now, and now there's a representation of the South, right? It's like, oh, okay. And then it shifts back again to Drake, because now it's like, oh, look at this guy. Who's this guy? And then it shifts again to Kendrick. And then, so like there's always this, if there's always this, it's too tough, let's go here. And then, it's too soft, let's go here. So that's the reason why Kendrick is on top now, because it was soft for a while.
Everybody was nice. Everybody was playing nice. It was like the NBA. Like everybody's friends after the game, they go eat, which is cool. But we just remember it being different.
But Drake is a soft. He's a softie, right? Like you wouldn't think of him ever getting into a fight. He's the shiny suit era. And like you're saying, like it's a pendulum, and like you would not, even if you're 6'6", you don't want to get into a fight with Kendrick. You right, but Drake, like my little sister would be like, yeah, I could take him, but that's fine. But like we have, so as you're saying, like we go back and forth between the hard guy, the soft guy. 50 overtook Ja, and then somebody overtook. I mean, Game kind of overtook 50, like outdid that. But then the pendulum switch. That's very interesting. That's very interesting.
What do you think of someone like Lupe? We got a lot of chat in here talking about Lupe, bringing up other artists and thinking about people who are lyrical, Rock Marcy. But Lupe has that ability where he came in the game making a palatable song that was very hip hop at a time where everything was very kind of like pop driven, right? He made Kick Push, and that song was like palatable narratively, and it was super hip hop. And then he goes and he kind of almost created the new wave of the rap pop song, like with the singing chorus and all that. He kind of created that new pop wave that even B.O.B. did and all that. I know you're familiar with this time because this is like the time you was coming up too, right? And then went back to I'm the mural nigga now. You know what I'm saying? I'm going back to the core of the depths of my internal lyricism. Do you think, like, how do you make a rapper like that one way? How would you instruct like rappers to try to get into that space? As well as, do you feel like technically, if you're able to be that technical rapper and you learn the skill of songwriting, does that make you a better songwriter?
Well, I think Lupe was an anomaly. Let's start there. You know, he was always the technical lyricist. He was the guy that could convey his emotions through not his personal life, but through instances that he witnessed, and then be technically proficient. And he did that through the first 3 albums of his career. I think what happened was he made Superstar, which made Atlantic Records a ton of money.
You right?
And they were like, whoa, 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 we need you to replicate this. So they give him records, he's creating lasers, and they're like, okay, this is good stuff, but we need another Superstar record.
Yeah.
So you need to do more of this. And he's like, whoa, all right, I'll do it. But he didn't really want to do that stuff until the point where he just fought back after lasers, and then he went back to being a more conceptual guy. He didn't want that big stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I think with Lupe, again, this is a guy who high vocabulary, high concept, high layer writing. You know, he was doing it in his singles. He was being very he was technical, obviously, but he was also creating Easter eggs in his music for his fans to be like, for me and Torre was talking about this, right? The 90% of people that are not intelligent, they hear the song and they think they're hearing one thing, but then there's this 10% of people that is hearing the song, but he's not talking about that. He's talking about this. He's able to successfully do that at a high level, and I think Kendrick took that and ran with it to another place.
When you talk about trying to hypnotize people and get them to remember the song quickly, I always think that it's really smart to start with the chorus. And Beyonce does this more often than anybody. And it's like by the time you get 40 seconds into the song, you're hearing the chorus for the second time. And it's like you're going to remember it more quickly. You're going to be in the song more quickly. And I think it's fairly rare in hip hop to start with the chorus. Maybe with a hook, but not like with the full out chorus. Wouldn't you advise people to do that more to get to that hypnotic point?
Yeah, I mean, I think early on in hip hop, the chorus didn't start it off. Then somewhere along the line, it shifted because because songs were still 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes long. So you were able to kind of put the chorus in the front and then have it there. We had Tony Williams, who co-writes for Kanye. He came to Pendulum Ink and he talked about songwriting, and he talked about the hook, and how a hook is not just a chorus. The hook is what hooks and reels you in. And he said how Kanye always wanted to have hooks, not only in his chorus, but in his verses.
Yeah.
He said it was very important for him to have hooks in his verses so that people hear it, they'd be like, oh, I can't wait for this part of the song.
What's
So,
an
and
example of
then
that?
his example of that was slow jams with Jamie Foxx and Twista.
Michael Jackson.
So, yep, there it is. That was
Got
the
a
hook.
light-skinned friend, look like Michael
Look
Jackson.
like Michael Jackson.
Kanye's the
Dark
king of
skin
hooks in the
friend.
verse. He's the king of
He's
that.
the
He's the
king
king of hooks in general. And hooks, I'm glad you said that. First of all, songwriting 101 is start with the chorus. That you write the chorus first. That's songwriter 101. That's what they're gonna teach you first. And songwriter 101, even if you are a rapper, you could start with the chorus and the chords of the beat, or just the sample. Like, start early with what you think the song's gonna be about. Then, like Mickey just Mickey just said, I want to reiterate, is that hook could be the sample that you're using, right? Could hook you in the beginning, or it could be what you're saying in your verse, like light skinned friend Michael Jackson. All those things could be that, and you could elaborate on that more, Mickey.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gumbo pot, right? You have to pick the best lines and try to make them as memorable as possible. Aside from the chorus, Torre, in a lot of songs that you're not an MC, so a lot of songs that you remember, there's always a line or two that always will stick out. When you think about I Just Want to Love You by Jay-Z, the Carl Thomas lyric is the one that people remember from that first verse. Drunk high in the club singing off key, and I wish I never met her.
Met her at all.
It gets better, order another round.
It's about to go down.
So that's two hooks.
So because he gave you a memorizable rhythm to it, right, and a line that's easy to remember, right, and a melody that's easy to remember, then like, okay, so here's a hook in the middle of the verse.
Yes. So placing hooks in your verses as songwriters are important. Like I said previously, crack fiend mama, you was a black queen mama. That's a hook. With Biggie, B.I.G., P.O., P.P.A., no info
for the DEA.
That's a hook. That's a
Biggie
hook.
has
People
so
couldn't
many.
wait to say. Or throw your rollies in the sky, wave them side to side, and keep your hands high.
You're defining it a little differently than I had traditionally heard, because I always thought a hook was repeated, and some of these elements you're mentioning aren't repeated in the songs, but they are memorable. So you're just saying anything memorable is a hook. It doesn't have to be repeated.
It's purposely written so that they can be hooks. So a chorus is repeated.
Yeah.
A chorus is repeated.
A hook doesn't have to be repeated.
Hook does not have to be repeated in traditional songwriting lingo, because think about it, a chorus comes from Shakespearean times. The chorus would be repeated and come in and to declare what this narrative is about, and they keep coming back. That's what the chorus is. It keeps coming back.
Correct.
A hook is to hook you into the song. Anything could be a hook. Like the hook, even though this got repeated, but the hook on that Jim Jones song, remember, the Ballin' was the ad-lib. That was the hook, because we fly high. That wasn't a really great chorus. The ad-lib was so hooky that became the most memorable thing about the song. So different things could be a hook to get you in the song, like Panda and stuff like that. And I want to go back to the hook and chorus conversation too when it comes to older rap songs. Old rap songs, it almost was like selling out to have a chorus. You was just supposed to rap from beginning to end. Like, you were just supposed to rap. So when choruses came in, people were like, that's kind of corny. Like, some people thought choruses were corny in rap, and now it's just like a
or the MC wouldn't say anything on the chorus. You might scratch in somebody else's line.
Exactly.
But I'm too big to do a chorus. I'm just gonna spit verses, and you'll love it or not. But I'm not gonna deign to make a chorus.
Exactly.
That's true.
And that was, I mean, and that's some of the dopest shit that we've ever had, is like, I love premiere choruses. Oh my God, those scratched vocals to just tell you and give you frame the narrative of the song within that was always my favorite type of hip hop chorus.
I hate that I love Kanye as an MC, or at least older Kanye, maybe Yeezus and before, not since then, but like, what was that verse he had where he starts talking about George Tenet, and he got a car with tinted windows and white people get money and they never spend it. And I'm like, this nigga is actually a great rapper and not the best technical, but he will say, and I know he's got ghosts, and I don't think he cares that you know that.
Yeah,
But
he doesn't.
he's super interesting as an MC.
Well, he's saying things. I mean, being in a couple of Kanye sessions, he's the
flex.
He's the chef.
Oh, flex.
He's the chef. He's the chef. So there's 5 or 10 people writing a verse at the same time, and then he's picking the best lines out of each verse.
Is he telling you guys you're all in one room together? Mm-hmm. And is he telling you this is the vibe, or is it just go start writing and we'll figure it out as we go?
This is the vibe. This is what I want to talk about. And he will have ideas. He will have his own lines that he has, but then he's also pulling and taking the best lines out of everybody else's rhymes, and to create this one masterpiece of verse. So that's why his verses are so memorable, and his verses stand the test of time. You know what I'm saying? And he'll freestyle
very
some
much
stuff.
so.
He'll freestyle some stuff, and that stuff will be there. But there's also this thought process of, let me pull from this, and this.
Did he? Wow. So wait. So he is curating, because you don't just hand him a piece of paper. You there's 5 or 10 people who are saying, what about this? What about this? What about this? He goes, oh, your second line is dope, and your third line is dope, and your fourth line. So I'll take that's what's happening?
Most times. And then, there's other times with, he'll have a skeleton of something, and, it's not to the point where he's not writing everything, or he's writing everything. It's a curation. It depends on what's happening. So when you see a Cudi say something like, we collaborated on 808s and Heartbreaks, it was a collaboration between him. There was ideas bouncing between 2 different artists to create this final masterpiece of a project, because Ye wasn't approaching records like that before he got with Cudi.
So wait, he wasn't approaching records with this committee approach before he met Cudi?
No, he wasn't approaching records from the type of songs. He wasn't singing full song. He was rapping up until this project, and Cudi was more of a sing-songy MC.
Yeah.
Got it.
Wait, CNA's all over 808s.
He's in the room with 10 people plucking bits from them, or 5, whatever. 10. Let's say 10. Should there be 10 songwriters listed?
Yeah, I mean, Kanye typically lists them. He lists the people that are in the room with him writing. You'll see a C. Wydell, which is Sahai's name. You'll see a Pusha T's name on his project. You'll see a Common's name on his project. You'll see these names on the project because there's always these ideas bouncing here and there between him, between the writers.
You don't own a piece of the song. You don't own the piece of the song, and you should.
No, they're credited on the song. Their publishing is on the song. If they get paid for the publishing, is a completely different. Because I know Saha has had some issues with that, but that's a completely different.
That's a business thing, but he's credited on. If you're credited on the song, you're supposed to get paid. If you're put into the publishing, you're supposed to have whatever percentage you guys agreed with, and that's the biggest indicator of you getting your money. Is look, my name's right here. That's the biggest way to be like, look, my name's right here. I'm supposed to get 5%. That's between the lawyers and labels and management, right? But I wanted to just say that's why I've always appreciate Kanye as a hip hop artist. the old Kanye as a hip hop artist because it was upfront. It was like, look, this is how I do it. You know what I'm saying? It's not I know that you guys are the rappity rappers and the lyrical rappers, and you might think that, me having help is different, but I came in as a producer. I became a rapper. I'm doing something different. I am a hip hop artist, and this is something different that we're doing. And I think that's why he was always able to command the respect as a artist, because it was right in front of your face how he was doing it, and it was genius. Like, you can't to take everybody to have all these people in a room and be able to curate the best verse. Because this rapper might think all his lines are the best. You know how rappers think.
He does.
It's like, this is all my lines is hot, and he's like, no, actually, that one bar you said about what's the one in My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy has some of the best written verses. Period. Like, Kanye's verses on there are insane, and you could hear Sci-Hi, you could hear everybody on there giving him bars. There's one about the Brandon, like, this person gets more than Brandon, like somebody, whatever, that line. He takes that line, takes another line, puts them together to make these beautiful verses, and you have to appreciate that ability. I've always appreciated that ability. But let me cut y'all all off with this super chat. In the realm of skilled but uninteresting rappers, J. Cole and Post skilled but uninteresting rappers. That's crazy. J. Cole and Post, what's that? Marshall Mathers, LP2, Eminem have consistently been my biggest disappointments. I can't believe For Your Eyes Only was a fluke. It should have been a new start.
Yeah,
I don't
Mickey,
agree with that at all.
I find Eminem to be a representative of perhaps the worst of what you are saying, of what you're describing. The technical ability is ridiculously off the charts, and especially after early Eminem, I'm like, I find it cold, because I'm like, it's lyrical miracle, and I'm not drawn in or grabbed by any. And I'm talking like after Stan, like later, not early Eminem, but later Eminem.
I mean, I think to me, his best work is his early work. To me, I think somewhere along the line, I think he got wind of battle rap, and he just went to a whole nother place, where he just wants to show I'm better than everybody. Like, from a technical standpoint, technically, I am better than all of you. And I'm going to showcase it and show it through cadences, through my technique, through my wittiness. I'm better than everyone. And, that's interesting. That's what he
interesting to the masses to a degree, but I think we forget that Eminem's fan base is different, right? His fan base is different. So we're talking about emotionally connecting, I guess, maybe with the culture, but you're really talking about emotionally connecting with the masses when you're talking about hooks and choruses and songwriting. It's not just the culture. And are we forgetting that this man had like those Rihanna songs? Like, he created a new formula. He had the Slim Shady formula at first for his pop songs, right? Where it's like shock value. Let me get you these bars off about all these people and give you a chorus. It's a fun little song. Then came back and did Love the Way You Lie, all those songs with a chorus, with a girl on a chorus, Pink, the song with Pink on the chorus, that's like a huge track. He had all those things. So he would have that song for the masses and create that record that wasn't super technical, but the album's full of all that technical stuff. And then like Lupe, I feel like it was just like, why? I understand where it's like, if I'm the biggest selling rapper of all time, just from a rapping standpoint, techno, I'm like the biggest selling rapper of like all time. What am I trying to do? It's like, am I really trying to like get the biggest song again? Like, sometimes I think you're looking just to challenge yourself. So I get that, but I get what you're saying, where he's just super technical right now. It's just like doing crazy stuff. But last year, he was like your verse of the year, right? Remember you said he had that couplet with all those consonants in the song with Jid.
Yeah,
that was
who
great.
said it was song? That you said Torre said that it was the song of the year.
No, his verse. He put it up as a one of his
one of the
potential
verses.
Yeah, of the year.
I thought Jid was better than him on that.
Jid was crazy. But we were just talking about that couplet that he had with I forgot what it was.
There was
one crazy couplet with consonants where he went back into old M, where the flow was crazy and the technical part was crazy. But I mean, Jid's been nice for a while now, since his last album.
Mickey, we don't talk enough about Jay Electronica. I think he's one of the great MCs of his generation, and a guy who's talking. He's interesting because he connects with me. It's not relatable. He's talking about Buddhism and 400-year-old religious traditions and shit. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it's deep as fucking I love you.
Now, let me ask you this question. Do you feel like you're connecting with the tone of his voice as well? And how these things are being said as opposed to what is actually being said? For you. I'm saying for you, because you don't you don't understand.
I love everything about Jay. I could listen to Exhibit C all day long, right? And all that. So shiny suit theory, all that. So I mean, yeah. I love the way he talks. I love the flows, the diction, everything.
I mean, I think he's incredible. I just think there's just the lack of work.
He hasn't produced enough?
It's just not enough for. It's just not enough.
I mean, he does have 2 albums now. He did make 2 albums. There's tons of mixtape material.
What I thought he has an album with Jay-Z.
Yeah.
That's not a solo album. Where's the solo album?
Wait, but it's the same lack of work for what? Lack of work for what? It's the same thing with Andre.
It's the same thing with Andre. I love Andre. I think Andre's one of the greatest ever. But why are we not saying Big Boy is one of the greatest ever as well? When on some of these records, Big Boy was taking Andre out.
Why are we not saying Big Boy's? I mean, if something, I think things are just what they are sometimes too.
Do you think Big Boy should be top 5 all time?
I don't have Andre top 5 all time. So why would I have Big Boy?
First of all, give us a top 5. Yeah. Now
what is your top 5? I said it was beyond you before, but now you've invited me into the conversation. What's your top 5?
I would put Jay-Z there. I would put Nas there. I would put Biggie there.
That's 1, 2, 3.
This is not an order, but these are just
okay.
I would put Tupac there. And I would put Kendrick there right now. I got Kendrick in the top 5
easily.
Yeah. So you 3K comes 6 or 7.
Why would 3K be 6 or 7? He doesn't have a solo piece of work.
Who's your 6 or 7?
I would have 3K somewhere like top 15, top 20, and then Big Boy would be right there with him.
Wow, who's 6 or 7 for you?
I mean, I would have to look at a full list to see.
Okay.
Because it's so many dope
rappers,
artists. So
let's take this on for a second, because you and many other people have made this point about many MCs about where's the album or judging you on the album. To me, that mindset gives too much power to the label, especially when we have artists, especially 3K and Jay Electronica, who have made tons of songs, lots of mixtape material, lots of features. I got 100 Jay Electronica songs that are not on the album on my iTunes. We have heard hours and hours of 3K rapping. You need the 3K solo album to evaluate him when we already have hours of him rapping circles around everybody.
Torre, Biggie Smalls has more verses than Andre 3000.
On rap albums?
Period. There are more Biggie Smalls verses than there are Andre 3000 verses. Sit with that for a second.
Is that true? Hold on, I'm about to come back in. For my guy.
Wait, because Outkast had 5, 6 albums? One of them is double album?
Biggie Smalls.
Are you counting features too?
I'm counting everything.
Are you
Biggie
sure
Smalls,
this is true? I don't know if this is true.
I am positive.
You have the numbers? You know how many it is?
Yes, it's about like he has about maybe 10 more verses than Andre 3000. You know why? Because he came up in an era of 3-verse songs.
Yeah.
And Andre had 1 verse on albums. And then when he finally had a solo album, he had 3 songs rapping on it. And then he did features. So there are more Biggie Smalls verses than there are Andre 3000 verses. Biggie was alive and active for 4 years. Why is there more Biggie Smalls verses than there are Andre 3000 verses? And people use this argument that Biggie Smalls only had 2 albums, so we shouldn't put him in this space. But you guys are going to put Andre here, and he has no solo album.
No, I think people say that. Let me push back. Let me push back.
I'm not.
There's never Andre and Big Boy when Andre just didn't steamroll through Big Boy. That's not the case here.
Andre has a run of features. Andre has a run of features. One, the number of verses doesn't mean much, really. That's like the LeBron conversation about like the stats.
It's
stacking,
an interesting fact to me, but I don't.
It doesn't mean anything for quality of verse and impact, right? The fact that the people have been touched by Andre 3000 so much that we feel that he should be there says something. So that's one.
No, nobody's saying that he's not incredible and that he's not great. Nobody ever once said that. What I'm saying is he is going against people, right, according to Torre, that did it consistently over a time where the era was more difficult to do it in. These guys are putting together 3-verse songs, constantly putting out albums, right? Yeah. And then when the format changes, they now are doing 2-verse songs, and Andre is doing feature verses. He's doing one verse.
But I listened to a 3K. But I listened to Life of the Party, and I'm like, oh my God, I have rarely in my life heard a verse that good. And I listened to, I could name, 2 or 3 other things off the top of my head. They're like, oh my God, those are 3 of the most amazing verses I've ever heard. So Andre got 3 of the most amazing verses I ever heard. I don't care about his wackest verse. His height, his ceiling is extraordinarily high. And I'm not going to say, and it's higher than Big Boy's, and I'm not going to say, well, I'm waiting to see what you do on your album. I'm like, I got all these 3K verses. He's doing all the things, diction, lyrics, flow, all the shit, and he's killing it. And I'm like, but I need to see an album. Like, so I have to go to the white man to get a label deal, to get an album budget.
I don't think he needs to.
You can make an album and put it out. You ain't got to bring white people into this. You ain't got to bring white people into this.
Thing. I don't think it has anything to do with the white man. I think that's foolishness. What I think it is.
So it's a mixtape album an album?
When you look at somebody like LL Cool J, came out in 85. That's 40 years of putting out music, and you have Andre 3000 over LL Cool J.
Oh, 100%.
I think that's easy.
The amount is
the amount doesn't matter at all.
He's done to me. LL has done way more. Not only has he done, there is quality with LL Cool J. There's so much quality with LL Cool J.
Of course. No one's downplaying LL Cool J.
There's more quality with LL Cool J than there is quality with Andre 3000.
Elaborate, actually define that for us.
You want to talk hit records? You want to talk battle records? What are we talking here? We want to talk albums?
Because you said quality.
We want to talk hit singles? These are all quality songs. This is LL we're talking about here. This is the guy that everybody wanted to be like.
You think, but LL is interesting. LL is not as complex as the guys that you and I have agreed are top 5.
Andre isn't as complex as Eminem. What are we talking about here? Andre isn't as complex as Eminem.
I need to pick my jaw up off the floor. What are you talking about right now?
Andre is as complex
Eminem?
as
What are we
Eminem.
doing right now?
I don't know what's happening right now. I think that there is
LL, partly because of when he exists, is at a level, is at a significant disadvantage in the conversation against these sort of people because it's less complex. And we're leaving out, I'm not saying more complex is infinitely better. There's diminishing returns on complexity, right?
I ain't fucking with Mickey right now, man. LL made a song called Accidental Racist, my nigga. I ain't fucking with you at all on quality. Accidental Racist. That nigga made that song. Everybody look it up because I ain't fucking with nobody talking about quality when a nigga made a song called Accidental Racist.
Was that with Garth Brooks?
It was with some nigga.
Some country nigga. And he was talking about, he said, forget about slavery. Some version of forget about slavery. I was like, oh my God.
Talking about the records that resonated with the people.
With the people. Got you.
When we look at 3K with the internal rhymes, the flows, the way that he's using words, the things.
The last solo Andre 3000 record.
See, I don't think that is the point. If a nigga touch a mic and spits a verse, that counts. And the shit is incredible. And what he did on Life of the Party is better than anything LL Cool J has ever done.
Let me make a case. This is Jay Electronica and Andre 3000 for both of those conversations because I agree with that. Jay Electronica wowed me and solidified me with Eternal Sunshine. That project he did, like the Blog Era project, was my shit. And that's untouchable. It's untouchable in solidifying why he is Jay Electronica, right? That's like, oh, this nigga is nice, right? Now, in the idea of greatest rapper ever is when this is like the almost objective conversation where I agree with you. I start thinking about factors like your career, the amount of work you put in, and all those things. When I think about best rapper, those are two different conversations for me personally. Best and my own personal favorite, right? That's your own taste when you have something like that. But when I think about the objective of like, this is the greatest. That's why I look at Kendrick and I'm like, I don't care what any of y'all niggas is talking about or any of your old niggas is talking about because did you just see what this nigga did in 2 years? No one has ever done that in 2 years. And then before that, he has 4 classic albums and an illustrious career before doing something which is usually the thing that breaks somebody. So he's broken like 4 times over. So to me, he could easily be number one to anybody, and he better be in your top 5. That's my perception on just career.
But I don't think the argument is about Kendrick. I think Kendrick has proven himself time and time again with solo albums that shifted the culture.
I'm talking about the difference in the conversation.
And solo records that shifted the culture, and solo and solo battles, and then he's had incredible features, and then he's went on to do incredible things outside of this space. So yes, him being top 5 should not be an argument. But but as soon as I said Kendrick, Torre double dutched in and said, "So wait, is Andre 6 or 7?" And I'm like, "Whoa!"
This nigga double dutched.
He was waiting. He was
waiting to figure out where you put 3K.
I love that.
I think in your list, if you put 3K, having 3K not in your top 10 or 20 because of that reason, I'm trying to make a case for it. That makes sense for me if you're factoring all those things in. But to try to downplay his impact and lyricism is something that I don't think makes any sense.
I mean, ability, if we're talking ability, 3K is unbelievable. Ability-wise, the same way I feel like Big Boy, ability-wise, is incredible.
Of course.
But, for me, again, I'm looking at the guy that is hitting the 3 consistently every night, winning the game over a guy who will get subbed in like a Kyle Korver, and as he's hitting the shot, bow, and then he's out the game. That's it.
There's a place for that, and the sports metaphor sort of falls flat there because Kyle Korver coming in once every 4 games and going nuts, but like in art, we have great reverence for the man or woman who goes into the desert, comes back once every 10 years with something genius, and then goes away, and then comes back 10 years later with something else genius. And that Andre, because of his personal issues, his personal anxiety and social issues, and he says he's recording all the time. He just doesn't feel like he can put it out. He feels like he doesn't have shit to say, which is insane. But that's just his issue, right? His personal shit.
Listen to what you're defending, bruh. This is rap.
Yeah.
This is rap. This is rap.
Yeah.
This is rap.
Yeah,
We
niggas
got
have
people-
social anxiety issues. Like,
Yeah, but you're defending his
rap
emotional
about it.
state. No, but
Of course I am.
no,
about it.
you can't defend yours.
Wait,
No.
by your
Toure.
math, Most Def is not one of the greatest MCs because he don't make solo albums. He makes
He
black.
has a solo album.
Yeah, one. He
How
makes
many
albums with
does-
most of our shit.
It's more than Andre. It's more than Andre.
What do you
More
mean?
than Andre.
He's saying
He
it's
has
more than Andre.
more solo
But we
albums
can't
than
defend
No, I know,
people's
but like
mental
so much
anxieties.
of what we love about Most isn't about that. It's about this freestyle. It's about this shit that he did alongside Talib. Like there's I
Black
don't
on
I
Both
don't-
Sides
I'm like,
is an incredible album, bro.
no, I get that, but I love that album, but I don't see how we reduce
Static
somebody
is an
to-
incredible album
What'd
to
you
me.
do? What'd you
You've
do on your
cornered
solo
you've
album?
cornered
That's
your-
the only
All right.
conversation.
Torre, you've cornered yourself here. So at least we have so Green. I can't argue Green with Jay Electronica because Jay Elect put out a great mixtape, The Eternal Mind of the Spotless Mind. That was a great mixtape. Act 2, Patents of Nobility, great mixtape. Solo, I can say Green. You know what? If you want to have him there, cool. He proved that he can make a solo project. Have we gotten one since 2007? No, but we got one. We haven't gotten anything from Dre. And that's tough for me as a Dre. I want everybody here to listen. If there's people listening, I'm a Dre fan. I want
sure, of
Dre.
course. Of
We
course.
all are. But he came up in an era where guys were doing 3 verses solo. He was with another guy. He had to step into the studio and say, hey, I only have to do 1 verse. Where you got a guy like Biggie who has to write 3 verses per song. The degree of difficulty is higher. It's just higher. And then not only is it 3 verses per song, but the verses are fire every single time. As opposed to one guy who's just doing 1 verse for a decade, and then when they finally decide to say let's do a solo album separately, Dre says, okay, I'm gonna sing. I'm not gonna rap on the project all the way through. If he raps on this project all the way through, I take a knee. I take a knee. And I'm like, you know what? You got it, Torre. But he sang on the majority of the album. And then after that, he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go on a feature run. The feature run is unbelievable. I'm not taking nothing away. I'm not taking nothing away from the feature run. He cooked Killer Mike's album. That was probably the best verse on the album. But where's the solo project? Where is it? He could just rap. He could have rapped over the flutes. If he rapped over the flutes, we wouldn't have this conversation.
He sounds disgruntled more so than he's like I'm disappointed in you, nigga. That's where
I
he's
mean,
at.
we feel the same
I
way.
feel the
as
same
far
way
I
as you.
want an album from the nigga. I'm like, come
Yeah.
on, let me EP your shit. Just rap and go away. I'll fucking
Andre
do the
makes
rap.
me want to rap more because he's so
Yes.
to me it's like disrespectful for you to be that good and not make rap albums. And I'm like, you know what? I got to figure out how to start rapping until I'm 62 years old because you pissing me the fuck off.
I mean, at this point, Green, he might as well just AI his voice and just give them the rhymes that he wrote and then just put it out.
Put this shit out.
Something. Because let me tell you, his fans, the Torres of the world, they're gonna love it no matter what. No matter how good it is, no matter how bad it might be, it won't matter. It's
Wow. Wow.
No, 3K. No.
Bad.
3K is 3K for my personal, because like I said, I have 2 lists. I got the objective list, like my personal objective list, and then I got my personal favorites. 3K and Doom are 1 and 2 for me on my personal favorites. I want to know where you put Doom in your space, if he's in your top 20 or 10. But Doom, because that's my own, like, just personal taste. But I could understand if somebody says, yo, Doom did his thing and he has his own lane, but he didn't have to go against, when you talk about objectively, he didn't have to go against everybody else, almost, really. Like, Doom just went in his own space. Like, he fully committed to his own space, and people had to come to him later, right? Whereas 3K went out there with help, right? I get that argument when we think about this objective greatest argument. That's why I put Kendrick at number 1, because it's like, yeah, Jay, yeah, Big, all this impact, but I think there's a lot of bias with the old niggas if we look at what Kendrick's done, and not like Kendrick's, like, he has, to me, I'm like, if I look at it just on paper, everybody's wilding if you don't put it at number 1. And I'm a nigga that used to be like, Jay ain't moving, Biggie ain't moving, Nas ain't moving. That's me. Like, I was like, these niggas can't move. And then as I grew older, I'm like, this nigga bulldozed those niggas out the way, in my personal opinion. But everyone agrees they can be personal 5. So Toure, I agree with him in the sense of that, like, these niggas in the sport of it, 3K didn't show up in the same way that these other rappers have showed up. In the sport of it, Doom didn't even show up in the same other way. There's lacking.
Doom has solo albums, though.
He has solo albums, and he could be in your top, but let's talk about the sport of this shit all together.
Now, that's another thing, right? So, like that, So that's where I have to lean with Toure. So, in terms of the sport of it,
yeah,
Dre would get on features with other rappers and completely blow them out the water.
Destroy him.
So he would get Ross out the paint. He would get Ye out the paint. He would get Killer Mike out the paint. He would get whoever else, whoever else, he would get them out the paint. It wouldn't even be close. So from a competitive standpoint, okay, I could see that, right? I'm not gonna fight that. Does he have a record with Kendrick? I think 3K does have a record with Kendrick, right? I know he got one with Drake. He got Drake out the
I don't think he has one. He was supposed to be on Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, but I think he like came off that joint. I don't think he has a song with. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong in the chat.
So for me, I agree with Toure with that, where he's taking rappers out competitively, right? Competitively, he's by far having the best verse on the song. It's just that solo wise, can he carry this theme? He can just do 32 bars. He can do 40 bars, 48 bars. We already know the chorus is going to be fire. We already know that.
Wait, what's the value of that?
I think the value to me is showing that, hey, I can also do this.
That's part of the sport of it, though, right?
That's the part of the sport of this. Like, everybody, how come he gets special treatment? I agree with the quality. I agree with the impact. But why is he getting? Why is it? Why are we not putting
special treatment because of the album thing?
I'm trying to think of another artist that was in a group that people hold at such a high regard that has not one solo album. Prodigy has a solo album. DMC has a solo album, but we don't hold him at that high regard. Method Man, we hold at a high regard, has a solo album. Raekwon, Ghostface, I believe Ghostface is top 15 for me, right? Sure. I think Ghostface is incredible, right? And we can name artist after artist after artist after artist that is in a group.
What about Lauren?
Lauren has. So to me,
she made a Love Below, basically.
She did make the Love Below, and she did pull up. But so Lauren is tough. It's tough because I feel like she's getting ready to release something. I hope. But yeah, she basically made the male version of the Love Below, which actually came out before them. Right?
Yeah, she's the blueprint of the Love Below, really.
She's the blueprint of that, right? She was cooking them on, but there was no competition for her on those Fuji albums. She was just completely steamrolling. She was
destroying them. Now, Black Thought. Someone said it in the chat, like Black Thought. Black Thought's been rapping by himself since the beginning of his career, so I don't know what people talking about.
That's a weird example because he's the lead rapper in a group, and other people rap, but he is the main rapping voice, right? As opposed to Outkast, where they're two equals, or EPMD, where they're two equals. So that would be a weird example to me.
Someone said
Yeah,
NERD featuring Andre 3000 and Kendrick Lamar. One of you. I can't believe those are three of my favorite artists, and I have never heard that fucking song. NERD, Andre 3000, and Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to that later.
Yo,
Yeah,
who's overrated? Who's overrated?
Who's overrated?
Yeah, who are the
Artist?
people talking about you like that nigga sucks? What?
I mean, that's a touchy subject, man. Being a rapper is tough. I don't want problems with nobody, man. But I don't really know. I don't really know who's overrated. Really, it's just a tough. This is like, how do you? People say Kendrick is overrated.
They do.
People say Kendrick is overrated.
Yeah.
So okay, I thought to talk to you about this before. The notion of glazing is something that a lot of us dealt with when the battle was going on, especially people like me and Green, big Kendrick fans, talking to Drake fans, and we're like, this means this means this, this means that, and they're like, you're glazing, which to them is like, it's not as complex as you're making it. And I'm like, I don't even understand that response. That I'm not reaching with the double entendres I'm explaining to you, and yet you're like, what did you make of that whole concept?
I think Kendrick has proven that he is intentional with his layering. He's been intentional since the beginning. I do believe that there are people that go beyond the scope of what he intends, right? And I think that's, that might be for engagement. It might be for, potential, admiration from people to think that person is intelligent at this level, that they're able to decipher what's going on. But for me personally, I think that, when people, not everybody is layered at that level. Like, I feel like when it comes to layering, you got like a Lupe, you got like a Black Thought, you got like a Kendrick Lamar. Like, these guys, you can actually sit down and say, okay, he really meant this, even though he was talking about that, because of how they write. You're not going to be able to do something like that with Drake. So a Drake fan is going to say that it's glazed because they're trying to defend their favorite artist. And Drake doesn't write like that. Drake is very straight to the point. This is what I meant. Unless he's doing a subliminal, and you have to figure it out from a subliminal standpoint, insulting somebody. But in terms of like thematic writing, I would have to say that Kendrick, 8 times out of 10, is layering his stuff, and people are searching to find what he was talking about or what he meant during that time. And because he's such a recluse, he's not coming out to explain it. It's just ambiguous for a lot of us out there.
Can you throw out
dumb.
2 or 3 of the best verses in your opinion?
You mean
All
like
time.
of all time?
Yeah.
Nas on Verbal Intercourse. I think
Nas, you said Verbal Intercourse, Nas?
Yeah. I think that's a pretty insane verse.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, the national anthem of hip hop is Biggie's verse on Juicy.
Okay.
I feel like that's one of the greatest verses of all time. Inspect the Deck on Triumph.
Whew.
I feel like
atomically, Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses can't define what I'll be dropping these. Damn.
I feel like the greatest verses of all time. I mean, again, this is such a crazy, it's a loaded question because there's so many great verses. Just so everybody that's watching, I am not a fan of lists. I despise lists because lists get you in trouble. And especially in hip hop. And
we want to know because we like dissecting verses, and we got a whole segment where we go out and we dissect verses. So hearing it from you is just helping us, really. So you're just giving us fuel. Think of it as fuel.
Yeah, I mean, I just think these verses they impacted on top of them just being great verses, right?
Yeah.
You know, again, I could be here all day just naming verses, man.
Yeah. No, I feel that. One of the most,
It's
I just want to put this out there for no reason. This is for everybody
Jay
listening
on
in.
Jay's Grammy Family verse to me is
That's-
probably one of the best freestyles ever.
Which one's that?
Ever.
What's that?
When he freestyled over Grammy Family with Funkmaster Flex in the background.
Give me some bars from it because I'm not remembering.
Hoes not glows. No, he's no big and Pac, but he's close. How I'm supposed to win? They got me fighting ghosts.
Yes. Now I remember that. Yeah. Now I remember the Grammy Family beat.
Like you with shit. That's only half if they like you. That ain't even a half to spite you. Look at what they did with Michael C.
Cool.
Malcolm C. Martin C. Malcolm sees Jesus, sees Judas, sees success in his outcome. Sees Jesus, see Judas, see Caesar, see Brutus, see success is like suicide. That verse is
suicide. That verse is insane. That is in Jay-Z's had a lot of those damn verses. But I want to point out, like, because I wanted to talk about Ghostface style right here before we close everything out. I want to talk about Ghostface style because I forgot where he talked. I don't know if it was on Touré's show or somewhere where Ghost talked about Supreme Clientele, where he went to Africa, came back and was in Africa because he said he didn't have nowhere to do music. He was coming up with this style of basically rapping about nothing. Like, it was very technical concept of like, I want to display these raps in a way that like Jackson Pollock would freaking paint, right? It's about the form of nothing. It's about like, you're trying to make this mean something when I'm trying to just give you imagery that connects and it'll have multiple meanings or can have meanings. I want to know what you think about that concept and idea from Supreme Clientele, which he's done on a lot of tracks. Some songs were
Supreme Clientele came out in 1997, 1998. I was a high school student. I was a sophomore. And I remember hearing Apollo Kids, and I was just confused. I was so confused because he was rapping about Big Ziti. I was like, what is this? You know?
The greatest.
I didn't understand it. And as I got older, I began to appreciate that Ghost was, because I started to get into art. I started to get into Jackson Pollock and his technique and how he would just throw stuff. You know, it was intentional, but the eye of the beholder, us as people surveying his art, we would look at it like it's just scribble. But
yeah,
for me, Ghost, like I said previously, he's a top 15 MC. Like, how he puts it together, the intensity of his verse, how he rhymes, what he's talking about when he is intentional, the spaced out stuff that he does and that he did on Bulletproof Wallets, and then being able to take these soul samples and convey his emotions with women and how the streets were. He is unbelievable. I think he's one of the greatest MCs that we've ever gotten. And because his style is so unorthodox, you know, I think it pulls people in more to actually dive into the mindset of somebody like that, right? He is unbelievable. He took what Camp Lo did and just, amplified it, to a whole nother level.
I never even really made that connection.
One thing with Ghost is that, and help me understand this, because KRS-One explained to me about rhyming behind the beat so it sounds cool and sloppy and like it's much more chill. But Ghost seems to rhyme like on top of the beat. Like he's like attacking it at the beginning. Like, is that what he's doing?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Ghost, I was talking to Big Daddy Kane about this, and Kane said that he was ahead of the beat all in the early 80s, and then when Method Man and Wu-Tang came out, they were all behind the beat. And, Ghost at the time was layered on top of the beat a little bit ahead and sometimes on the snare. And that added to his stylistic choice and why people loved him, because he was so in your face.
He created
and he
a
was
sense
right
of
in the
high energy, right? It created almost a sense of anxiety that added to like the freneticness of his whole presentation.
Yes, yes, and I believe that he did that purposely. I think that he was, he was competing with eight other MCs to stand out. You got a guy that sounded like the drunk uncle that you always loved, and then you got this guy, you got this super scientific genius over here. You know what I'm saying? Literally, right? And then you got this front man that is so energetic and using references from things that people always remembered. And then you
Mm-hmm.
got your guy right here who Raekwon, him and Ray were like yin and yang. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like Ray's voice stood out so much. So I felt like Ghost had to amplify to offset what Ray was doing on his side to make sure that he stood out. Because Ray was standing out as well. He had the standout verse on Cream with Deck, who also was just this lyricist in extraordinaire, right? So
Every
I
time I
always
think
felt
about Wu-Tang, it's insane that all those niggas got together and were that nice. That makes no sense. Like, how did
makes
you
no sense.
find each other in Staten Island? Like,
What,
9 of you
what,
niggas?
what makes no sense to me is for one man to be able to guide 8 alpha men and be able to say, listen to me, do it my way, give me a year. If it
There's
doesn't
money on
work
the
after
other
a
end.
year, then you do something else, but you got to follow my plan for this. Okay. I mean, how'd you get 8 people together and all follow in one direction? Like, that is
I think it's because it
hard as
worked
fuck.
pretty quickly when he just said that. Because if it didn't, if there was some hiccup, like, because when they went in, that shit worked pretty quickly. Like, it spread through New York quick and started going up. Like, if that shit took too long to work, I don't know if all 8 of them niggas was gonna be there. Like, that shit,
Probably not.
probably not. And then after you touch the spirit and soul of the entire globe, it's kind of hard to walk away from that shit. You can't walk away from Wu. If I was
It's
in
a
Wu Tang,
testament. It's a
yeah,
testament to the RZA's ability as a leader to
very
be
much
able
so.
to communicate with these people, these specific alpha individuals. That's why only certain sort of people could be an NFL head coach. You're going to tell these big testosterone, roided out millionaires what to do. You got to be a certain kind of guy to make them listen. And like
Yeah.
RZA is a real leader of men who was able to lead those freaking different. But if you didn't have RZA and his particular way of leading, you'd have none of this.
But he was also a great producer. Like he made some of the greatest beats in the '90s. Like he was able to spearhead it because he knew what the sound was going to be. He knew he had a plan. And you give a man with a plan, everybody will follow that person. And I'm glad that they followed him because those first 4 years was unbelievable.
Unstoppable.
Like
Unstoppable.
unbelievable.
I might
You know,
give him
and-
six to eight, but 4 years, yeah, because it's Supreme Con. No, Supreme Con tells us 2000. So and they came out what 90. Because I even give him the
Three.
solo shits too to RZA because RZA did spearheaded that Supreme Clientele, changed the wave. That album is so
But I don't
important.
know
The reason why I want.
Did RZA produce Supreme Clientele?
I think he executive produced it, and some other people did. The beats were all over the place. But RZA's best verse, I want to put it out there. His best verses on that album. Tony Starks make the Knox dogs bark with the Benz parked up against the boulevard. Starks had the bone spark. One cop had the window glass like a cymbal clash. So what the fuck, son? You trying to break glass? This nigga tells a story with internal rhymes. I didn't even know he wrote that shit. I remember he won the freaking verse of the year on the Source Mag 2, and I was like, that is one of the most memorable verses that we are definitely going to do in Breakdown, because it was the guy who was the leader, the producer, showing up as a lyricist too, and we didn't even know he had that in him, like that Bobby Digital style. But I think he executive produced Supreme Clientele, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I think he stopped. I think once he had the flood, which messed up Inspector Deck's album, I think he just kind of like he started to think about doing scores and stuff like that. But I'm a huge RZA fan. I think he's one of the greatest producers of all time. There's so many unsung heroes of MCs. We didn't even get into Common. We didn't get into Redman. We didn't get into, that's what I'm saying. Like it could get spooky. We didn't touch Talib. Pause. You know, there's so many MCs.
That's good pause. That's good pause. That's good catch.
You know what I'm saying? It's
That's
a
good
lot.
catch.
It's a lot of guys that we haven't even gotten a chance to speak on and speak about
Oh,
because
pause the news, son. We have to tell you about. I know he didn't make a solo album, so fuck him. But fucking pause the news is incredible.
yeah, I mean, yeah, Positive News was insane. But I feel like when we categorize people, we have to categorize them properly. I feel like it's tough, man, because again, he didn't have a solo joint. It's easy to, as an artist and as a rapper, if I'm in a group with another person and I only have to write one verse, I'm gonna be infinitely better than the person that has to write 3 verses.
Yeah, I definitely loved Redman. He knew how to connect. He knew how to make you feel that shit. Don't be a
Yep.
monkey, be a gorilla coming from the bricks. Like he made you feel where he was from, made you feel what he was about. And it wasn't just about I'm the shit. I'm the shit was always underneath it. But it was like I live a fun life. I'm a big grown up boy and I do fun shit. And like, you know what I mean? And it was, he's so much fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we're trying to get Redman to come to Pendulum Ink. He'll be at Pendulum Ink. So we bring an artist every month to my school. This year so far, we've had Elza. We had Tretch last month, and Tretch is another
Amazing.
one.
Yeah.
Tretch is an unbelievable
Go.
MC.
Do you think you could make anybody into an MC, or you got to have something in you to be able to receive your lessons?
You could learn.
I think Ransom said that rap is a skill. It's not a talent. It's a skill. You can be taught how to rap. In my opinion, if someone puts the necessary hours and practice into it, yes, I can turn anybody into a good rapper. They just have to put the work in. You gotta literally put the work in. Because
doesn't mean you
if
could be
you
an
do not-
elite rapper though.
yeah, I could turn somebody into an elite rapper. Are you fucking kidding
That's
me?
crazy.
I turned myself into an elite rapper. I turned myself.
Who's your most famous student?
Well, I just started 3 years ago, so I can't. It's tough to kind of say famous student, right? Like I don't have a famous student. We're still. My students are great lyrically. From a technical standpoint, songwriting takes time. To be a good songwriter, that takes a lot. It takes balls, it takes creativity, it takes the things that I spoke about previously. And then, frankly, you need a budget. If you don't have a budget, you need to do something stupid to go viral, or you need to stand out in a way where people will see you. And I think that's the part of being an MC that a lot of MCs don't know how to do, and that's to promote themselves to get in front of the eyes of a Green and a Torre.
If a person wanted to rock with you to go to your school, how long are you in school and what does it cost?
So we were doing it for 8 months at a time. But now we decided to pull back and do it 12 months out of the year. So you come to class, it's all online. So you come to class 3 to 4 times out of the week. You get lessons about writing, songwriting, lyrical writing, how to rhyme on beat, higher levels of writing on beat. We have a mental health specialist on staff. So you get the chance to have this emotional connection every week. So that you can dive into who you are. And then we teach the business, the content, how to create content, the battle rap portion of it. And then we have a legendary guest come in. This month is going to be Exhibit, right? So this, for the year, it costs $2,500. And then we have 2 events a year where you get to perform in front of a packed house. Just last week, we had Pete Rock playing unreleased instrumentals and popular instrumentals, and people were rapping over his beats. Artists were rapping over his beats in front of a packed crowd. Corey Guns performed, DJ Evil D played beats. And the people who rapped over these beats only paid $10 to rap over his
Yo,
beats.
$2,500 for a year and all the things you're giving him, that's a great deal. I would expect you to charge more than that. So I think that's a really fair deal. Getting them lessons, getting them networking, getting them exposure. That's a good deal. Wait, if people are watching this and they wanna be in your school, where do they go? How do they do it?
Oh, you go to pendulumink.com, pendulumink.com. And we have plans as low as $25 a month where you can just kind of come into the community and learn self-guided videos where you can learn on your own. And if you just don't have the $2,500, you could pay $250 a month, or you could pay $50 a month and see the legendary guests and see old classes, right? So we've had Method Man, Fonte, Corey Guns, Sky Zoo, Cyrock, Shauna. We've had all of these MCs come and teach their skill. And some of these MCs stayed in classes. We had Shauna in classes learning. We had Pharaoh Monch in classes learning. Like,
shout out to Pharaoh Monch.
It's not this thing where, you are too good to come to a school to learn even more. Because I was learning even in the school that I'm teaching at to be a better MC. It takes other MCs to make people better. And I think there's this thought process is that I can do it alone. I can do it alone. I can do it alone. All great MCs have a team of people helping them and giving them advice and giving them.
Yeah, you need coaching. So didn't you say also you had people who are non-rappers that are coming to class too? I think that skill set of having someone coach. You still got to send me that. You said you was gonna send me that.
I gotta get you one, man. I got
What's
you.
that?
This is our textbook. Yes, this is our textbook teaching you every single technique that you could think of in here. Big Daddy Kane wrote the foreword right here, right? Big Daddy Kane wrote the foreword to the book, right?
Yeah.
And this is our glossary. This is our glossary with all of the
focal
technique.
point, perfect rhymes, couplets, and oh my God, that's everything down. The cadence, the content.
There's a whole chapter on pocket.
Punchlines, wordplay, associates.
Chapter on acronyms. Y'all want to read this?
I gotta step in on the class. I keep forgetting. I gotta hit you up.
Let Reed teach a class for sure.
And then we got this is the advanced level stuff.
Reverse punchlines.
This is dope.
Easter eggs.
Folks are gonna sign up. Best of luck to you with this. It sounds like an incredible opportunity for a lot of people. I want that book. Hit me up.
Definitely want that text. I want to say this real quick. It's in the chat.
I'll get y'all books.
Bet. Someone said students at Pendulum, I guess they know students at Pendulum Ink felt like they should have paid more for what they got back. So you're doing something big for the people. So they out here and definitely enjoying the class. And I'm like I said when we first were on text, like I'm just so appreciative and proud of the fact that this exists, and I'm glad that you're spearheading it. Someone who is of that ilk and quality too. But definitely, I need that text. You're like, don't play with me.
And we need you to come back. This was dope. Thank you so much.
All right, man.
Y'all send me a text and send me your addresses. I'll have our company ship y'all some books. We finally got it under order, so I'll get you guys some books.
That's all
right.
All right, we'll have you come back. Thank you so much, Mickey.
Rap Latte.
Long live lyrics.